I do not know who can say they have not experienced conflict before. As human beings, wherever we find ourselves, conflict will exist. It is not all conflicts that are violent, as you're seeing in the bottom left photo, where people punch each other and throw each other to the ground. It is not all conflicts that are, should I say, visible, as in the one you see on the top right, where the lady is pointing to the gentleman. She's obviously upset about something the gentleman has done or said, and the gentleman is also confused. You can see from his palms that he does not know what she is talking about. Now, this is a scenario we see all the time in relationships. Anyways, sometimes somebody can have a conflict with you and you would not know. So you do not need to know that there is a conflict before there is a conflict. I hope you get it. So it is not a two-way street. Somebody having a grudge with you without you even knowing, that is a conflict that is existing, just that you don't know. And as humans, it happens all the time. We have people who are angry with us because of something we said or did that we do not know of, that we did not probably even intentionally say or do to hurt or harm the person. But then stuff happens. In this class, we are looking at conflict management, and today we are looking at what conflict is and the levels of conflict that exist. So, let us look at what conflict is. Last semester, during the exam, what I realized was some students would, before defining something, say, according to Mr. Onoma, so and so, advertising something. I am not interested in chew and pull. When you're doing your research or project work and you are making certain claims or you are defining stuff and you want to cite whoever you want to cite, that's fine. But in the exam or when I'm in class with you, I am more interested in you getting the concept. So by that, what I mean is, if you give a definition, that is not necessarily dito. Yeah, from what I have submitted or what I have given to you, it does not mean I'll mark you down. As long as it makes sense, it's carrying the same idea or similar idea, because there are dozens of definitions of what conflict is. And I don't want to bring all of them here. So I have brought one that fits my needs. So if you come across another one and you look at this, you analyze and you feel, okay, the same idea has been generated, just that the English has been turned, around synonyms and all those things. Charlie, it's good for you, yeah? Right, so now let's get back to definition of conflict. Conflict is a disagreement through which the parties involved perceive a threat to their needs, interest, or concerns. So it means the parties involved in a conflict, it could be 1, 2, 3, many parties, but we'll look at that when we get to the levels of conflict. Now, so mind you, when we say parties, we are not talking about MPP and DC party, we are talking about whichever individuals or groups that are involved in the conflict. So the parties involved perceive a threat. The key word here is perceive a threat. Well, perceive. Now, why is perceive important in this definition? Well, to me, perceive is important in this definition because it tells you that whatever threat that the person is perceiving may not necessarily be actual. So somebody may erroneously think that you are a threat to him or her, and that could bring about conflict. So the facts that are bringing about a conflict do not necessarily have to be true. I hope you're getting what I'm saying here. So if somebody is upset with you at home, let's say you stay at home and somebody leaves the tap on, and then your neighbor comes and then your neighbor perceives that it is you who left the tap on and your neighbor is upset with you, it does not necessarily mean what she is or he is perceiving has to be true for him or her to have a conflict or disagreement with you. You understand? So you realize that it is often about perception, how the other party or how one party sees the other party, perceives you as a threat to their needs, interests, or concerns. Now, human beings since the beginning have been interested in themselves. It has always been survival of the fittest in the early ages, and then laws were brought to prevent the strongest from always cheating the weak. That's how come we have laws in the society, so that everybody can do what they want without infringing on another person's rights. So if somebody feels what you're doing or what you're saying is affecting their interests or their concerns or their needs, they are likely to have a conflict with you. Now, in talking about conflict, there are certain things I would want you to remember. In conflict, there are always issues. Yeah, when we talk about issues in conflict, we're asking ourselves, what is the conflict about? What is the issue? There are interests. That is, what is the party or the person or persons, what are they looking for to gain from the conflict? And then there are what we call positions. That is, what is the stance that these people or parties have taken? So issues, interests, and positions. So let me give you an example so hopefully it can be clear in your mind. Some years ago, an NGO went to a town and then they realized the town did not have water. If people needed water, they had to go miles away to fetch water from a stream. So what the NGO decided to do was, hey, you know what? We're going to build a well in the middle of the town so that everybody can come to the well and then fetch water. And then they did. So at the launch, they put their ribbons around the well, they cut it, they clap their hands, blah, 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 and then everybody goes home. 3 days later, nobody had used the well. 1 week, nobody had used the well. 2 weeks, nobody had used the well. Now, the NGO was worried. What at all is going on? Why are people not fetching water from the well? Why are they still going to the stream miles away? So they decided to do an investigation. And then they found out that the children who were going to fetch water from the stream had been told not to fetch from the well by their parents. And the reason their parents had given them was that the well was evil. Some were saying the well is cursed, and a whole lot of negative stuff about the well. So the children were not fetching water from the well, they were going to the stream. When investigation was done as to why the parents were telling the children that, it was found that the buildings in that town is what we call Atakami, or the hut. So just round. It's not like you come to the city and then you have chamber or self-contained or 2-bedroom and the children have their room, parents have their room, all that. No, it wasn't like that. So it's a mud house or thatch house and they all sleep on the floor. So it is when the children go to the stream to fetch water, that is when the parents get the time to be alone with each other, if you get what I mean. So the well being sited in the middle of the town meant that the children would go to the well and come back in 2 minutes. And the parents felt that was not enough time for them to be alone with each other, or as the Bible will say, so that they can know each other. So you can see here that if we ask what is the issue or what is the conflict about is about the sighting of the well. And when we talk about the interests, what is the party that's having the problem? What is he looking for? They are looking for sexual freedom or ability to, know each other. And their position or the stance that they had taken was that the well was evil and children should not go fetch water from the well. So I hope this gives you an idea about issues, interests, and positions, these keywords when it comes to conflict. So now we're going to look at the levels of conflict. There are 4 main levels of conflict that we'll be talking about. That is interpersonal, intragroup, intergroup, and then intrapersonal. Now, since I ended with intrapersonal, let's start with intrapersonal. Now, intrapersonal is a conflict between an individual and his or her inner self. So it's a conflict between you and yourself. Now, mind you, many people will say, hey, if I'm having conflict with myself, then pantan be that too. No, it's not like that. Yes, people that we deem ought to be in pantan, they have intrapersonal conflict. But we who also think we are not mad, we also have intrapersonal conflict. Something as simple as when I finish school, when I finish my first degree, should I do masters or should I go and look for a job? What do I do? You're having conflict. So you're undecided. You have 2 positions in your mind and you don't know where to be. So it's like 2 voices or 3 voices and they're all pushing their idea or agenda. So that is within yourself. So you don't know what to do. You're having a conflict within yourself. Shall I fast today or shall I fast tomorrow? I don't know what to do. You're having a conflict with yourself. Sometimes the conflict can be a little complicated. Like, let's say you are with your friends in your neighborhood and an elderly person is passing and your friends are jesting or laughing at the elderly person. Now, you are at a loss as to what to do. Should you join in? Because one part of you is saying, oh, this one, they'll be play with the play. It's nothing serious. It's not like anybody has thrown a stone at the elderly person. We're just having fun. And then there's another part of you that is saying, hey, remember your upbringing. This is not you. How can you be teasing an elderly person? So now you don't know whether to join in or tell your friends, hey, stop what you are doing. Or even keep quiet and say, oh, if I will not join, let me just keep quiet. So this is an intrapersonal conflict that you can have. Now let us go to interpersonal. Now, interpersonal is conflict between 2 persons on the same or different hierarchical levels within the organization. Now, this definition added within the organization because this is conflict management, this is public relations, and we are looking at conflict in the workplace, and that is why within the organization was added. But generally, conflict between 2 persons is interpersonal conflict. So if you have a conflict with your friend, your brother, you're walking by the roadside and somebody drives and splashes water on your fine shirt. Like, hey, Charlie, why? You're crazy. Buy my shirt for me. The person also gets down and says, hey, are there one who's in Shuguho? You should, you're having an interpersonal conflict. And then we have intergroup conflict, the one on the right, top right, intergroup. That's the conflict between 2 or more groups within the organization. And then we have intragroup conflict among members of a group or among subgroups of a larger group. So let me explain these inter and intra. Let's say in an organization, a committee is set up to, let's say, investigate, I don't know, something. Why staff come to the office late, or why staff leave the office early, or whatever it is that they decide to investigate. If within that committee, because that committee right now is a group, within that committee, there is a misunderstanding within members inside the committee, we say it is an intra-group conflict. Yeah, so members of the group are having conflict. Now, the intergroup is conflict between two or more groups within the organization. So let's say after the committee is done with their recommendation, they go to meet management, and management says, you know what, no, we don't agree with what you're coming up with. So right there, two groups, which is the committee and then management, they have a conflict. So that is intergroup conflict. I hope this is clear. So these are the levels of conflict that exist in our society.